A long-delayed report into sexual abuse by Oxfam workers in Haiti says the charity was warned about its employees' behaviour months before it actually took action. The Charity Commission for England and Wales found that Oxfam's internal culture tolerated bad behaviour and lost sight of the values it's meant to stand for. Well, with more on this story, Hanan Ferjani joins me here in the studio. Hi to you, Hanan.
Hi, Belle.
You've had a look at that report. What did you find the most shocking?
Well, to put it simply, Belle, the UK's Charity Commission's report says that Oxfam knew about the allegations. They knew that some of its aid workers had abused women and girls, and they simply did nothing. All that to protect their reputation. The report reads, and I quote, "Oxfam had a culture of tolerating poor behavior and failed to report child abuse claims." And that's really the most shocking part of this report, is that the fact that some of those victims were minors and some of them were children, and that despite knowing about those concerns, despite being made aware of them, the NGO did not take action. At least it did not take action immediately. It took them months before they launched an internal investigation. So it is a big deal, and it's likely going to affect Oxfam's reputation. Obviously, their reputation has been affected. It was first affected when the Time, the British newspaper, last year came up with initial claims as to how they mishandled this whole sexual misconduct case. So 8 years on, really what we're saying is that this scandal is not going away anytime soon, and the general public has really lost faith in the organization's mission. Last year, 7,000 people cancelled their donations to Oxfam following the Times revelation. So really, we think that this report is probably going to affect them even more.
Yeah, it's enormous numbers, but it goes beyond Oxfam, doesn't it? It's not just Oxfam. There are other charities involved.
Yes, unfortunately, Belle, it goes way beyond Oxfam, and what this particular revelations, the ones from the Time and the ones from the Charity Commissions, have shown is that some countries and regions across the world are particularly vulnerable to sexual violence when, they're marred with conflict, political instability, or are affected by natural disasters. And in those countries, people suffer from those sexual misconducts, and those are not simply committed by warlords or militia, as you would expect, but sometimes it's the very members of the organizations meant to protect them and to protect their basic human rights that are doing so. And last year, the Times revelations led the International Development Committee of the UK's Parliament to issue a report about rampant sexual harassment and abuse in the humanitarian sector, and that was released on July 31st of 2018. And Haiti is unfortunately a striking illustration of this vulnerability, as there had been many allegations of sexual allegations surfacing from the country, not just by humanitarian workers, but also by UN peacekeepers. In 2007, for instance, members of the Sri Lankan peacekeeping contingent there had been accused of misconduct in the refugee camps, namely. But you see this elsewhere. You've seen it in Africa, namely in Central African Republic, in the Burundi, again in Chad in 2005, when Oxfam aid workers were again involved. And personally, I got to meet with some of those victims of sexual violence a few months ago, as I was covering a conference on ending sexual violence in fragile environments, and they told me that really impunity was simply so widespread still, and that unfortunately victims of sexual violence, when they came forward, were not heard.